A theory of change is a tool to help you communicate to your stakeholders and describe the problem that you're trying to address, the changes that you want your social enterprise to make, that's your outcomes, and how you plan to create and influence the change, that's your activities. All social enterprises should be able to clearly communicate their theory of change, as it helps teams work together to achieve a shared understanding of a project and its aims. It helps determine what needs to be measured and reported on, and it also helps attract customers and investors who want to support and partner with you. A theory of change is often represented in a diagram or a chart, but the process of developing a theory of change involves some planning, lots of conversations, and reading existing research on the problem that you're trying to solve. The process should involve thinking about the assumptions and enablers that inform your work and explain why you think your activities will lead to the outcomes that you want. It should also challenge you to develop clear aims and strategies and explore whether your plans are supported by evidence. By the end of the theory of change process, you should have a clear idea of what your organisation or project wants to achieve and a strategy to do this. Now, here are 4 key tips that I recommend to anyone developing a theory of change. Number 1, theories are a set of principles or beliefs about why something takes place, which is your activities, or why changes will occur. So begin by spending time with your team, your customers, beneficiaries, and anyone else who may be relevant. And make lots of notes and about what and why you think your social enterprise is creating change. Now think about the critical success factors that are needed to positively affect the problem that you're trying to address. Now here's a little example. If I'm trying to improve people's mental health, I could assume that selling them outdoor adventure experiences could make them feel happier and more productive at work. So my assumption is that change will occur because of getting people into nature and challenging them. Now that's my theory. However, there are many reasons and contexts why my assumptions may be incorrect. In fact, it might even be a terrible approach. Or there might be certain circumstances where it does create better mental health, but only for certain people in certain circumstances. Now, even taking a small time to stop and discuss the assumptions and the logic we believe to be true can help challenge our approach and think about what outcomes we need to measure. Tip number 2. You should be really clear about your scope before you begin. It is possible to produce a theory of change for a whole organisation or social enterprise, or just a single project or campaign. And one approach is to develop a high-level, overall theory of change for your enterprise, alongside more detailed ones for individual projects. Now, some projects are well established with a robust evidence base, and developing a theory of change will be quite straightforward. But if you're doing something a bit innovative, or perhaps you don't know the evidence base yet, this is going to require some more thought and more time looking at the research that has been written about the topic. Tip number 3. Remember that your theory of change should simply and clearly tell the story of how your program achieves change. It should visibly express when change is occurring and who for. The text on your theory of change should be written so that your reader who is unfamiliar with your program or social enterprise will understand it. Avoid jargon, abbreviations and terminology that someone outside of your social enterprise doesn't understand. And this is especially important for customers, funders, and people that you hope are going to support your organisation. If your theory of change doesn't simply tell a credible story of how you're achieving great outcomes for certain groups of people or your community, then you may find that you don't get the support that you need. And finally, my last tip is to lay it out nicely on a page as a diagram, or simply and visually give people this story. Imagine spending a lot of time developing and designing amazing theory of change, and then people not really understanding it or reading it because it looks so awful or it's too much text and they can't really absorb what you're trying to tell them. So if you do use some visuals like boxes and arrows, it's probably not going to be the best thing designed in Microsoft Word. You're going to need some software that helps you lay out your theory of change neatly, and maybe has some diagrams or pictorials as well with it. So don't spend hours and hours getting frustrated with Microsoft Word. You might need to ask a graphic designer to help you design your theory of change. A graphic designer will be able to easily lay it out nicely on the page, and you might even be able to get your logo and website address on there as well. It's really great to have it on your website, so when people come to your website, they're easily communicated with by yourselves about what is the change being created. So a theory of change is only as useful as its practical application. So don't get lost in the quest for perfection. I encourage you to start developing your theory of change and see what you can learn as you go through the process. If you need more step-by-step instructions, just go to the links below. There's lots of material and resources that can help you, and I look forward to seeing the results.